Evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Sorry, I missed last week. Got a lot going on, but back in action again. And actually, at some point here, relatively early, after a lot more people get in here, I will try and decide what to do for next week, because I know that typically Thanksgiving week is pretty busy for a lot of people, especially the night before. So I'm not really sure I'm going to handle that. But regardless, we're back tonight and doing the same topic tonight that I was planning on for last week anyways, and ask me anything. Anything. It's open topic night. Just trying to play that YouTube algorithm a little bit and see if maybe this helps a little bit. We'll see. Remains to be seen, but that is the plan. But Dogbone, Masson and Basson, Mike, Little Rich. Oh, everybody's here. Trying to think. I did see Jody should do a show on jigs next week. Yeah. The topic not often covered enough, right? I like this. Who's fishing on Thanksgiving? I am not fishing on Thanksgiving because I will be cooking up a storm. I love cooking. So I'm going to be busting my butt in the kitchen, doing everything, absolutely everything. But starting the day making homemade cinnamon rolls from scratch, which is usually like a 4-hour effort, but so worth it. And I don't even care. Literally, it's like 4 hours of effort for maybe 3 minutes of like the food being there before it's gone. But now you know it's good. So it's totally worth it. I'm looking forward to it. But day after, I'm guiding, and actually that's something I'll talk about in a little bit too. I'm trying to open up a bunch of time for various reasons. But primarily, especially the tail end of the year, like anybody who wants to get into some like cold water, like training is really how I'm going to put it. The week of Christmas, I'm going to have a lot of time because my company is getting a mandatory shutdown during that week. It really sucks. So I'm going to try and make the most of it and open up a lot of days for that. So that is the plan. And sorry, you can hide that. Let's see here. This past weekend, fishing report. Let's do that. Abysmal. I tell you what, I keep going out there anticipating colder water temperature that I'm going to find. And where I was in northern Vermont was still 54 to 55. And bite turned on later on in the day, but it's something that just continues to throw me through a loop right now. And the thing is, like, I'm so honed in on water temperature and not time of the year. And it was something that my buddy Tim and I discussed while we're out there. It was like, water temp says this and the fish should be doing that. But given the water time of the year, we can see them. They're out here doing this, and that matches a colder water temperature. They're out deeper, bait and bass. They just weren't biting. And you go, okay, well, if I follow the water temp, let's fish that and try and find that pattern and go. And I don't know, we'll see. And it didn't pan out. But following time of the year, calendar wise, sun lighting condition wise, like the fish were correct to that. So learning lesson on this weekend. But northern Vermont sucked. We ended up going to the Connecticut River and catching 9 or 10 fish in like 30 minutes. And then they started pulling current really hard, and all of a sudden it went to absolutely bite died, and the river dropped like almost a foot in like the hour we were there, which is pretty wild to see how much water they were pulling. It was nutty. Jody, well, before I answer this, again, tonight, open topic night. So anything you guys want to talk about, just start hammering out questions. I'm going to start rifling through these a lot. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about a bunch of random things. Jody, Connecticut River Derby this Sunday. Might snow. Everyone should come. Dude caught a 5 last week. I did see that. And Mark, Northeast Bass, to answer your question, yes, Bellows Falls, specifically the North Walpole section, launching off of Pine Street. My buddy Sean Graves puts on a handful of tournaments out of that ramp every year. It's usually a good time. It's smallmouth only. It's an 8-fish limit. I think it's $120 per team. And really, it's just a bunch of really good guys. Jody's going to be there though. So just plan on donating at least some chunk of change to him and whoever his partner is. Usually with the Graves and the 2 Justins take everybody else's lunch money from those events. But it's fun. They're just awesome people. If you're interested, let me know and I will find that information. Jody, I think you might be right. I think takeoff is at 7 with daylight savings now. We can do that. So yeah, that'd be fun. I don't know if I'm going to go do that. I'm going to wait and see if I can fish with my buddy Dennis, Dennis, right? Dennis from ReelNorthernBass. I've been a little bit MIA with work still, and he hasn't fished in a while. So if I can get out with him on Sunday, we're just going to go fun fishing somewhere else. Based on wind, I have no idea where the hell we're going to go with this wild weather, but I'm hoping to get out somewhere deep. and try and get on some smallmouth, because for the life of me, I can't figure out a largemouth bite. So we shall we shall see how that goes. Alec, I saw that big fish you got today. Congrats, buddy. Glad for you. Someone's going to catch some big largemouth, because I sure as hell can't. Drop that. So let's talk about next week really quick. And in the meantime, like, as you're thinking about questions, Dropman's got a good one. I can go over that, but by all means, just start throwing in questions. I'm going to get through it. Next week, Thanksgiving week. I'm not sure if I should do the stream. I guess it's one of those, like, how many people are really going to be around versus how many people might not be. It's going to be a busy night at my house anyway, so it would be more convenient for me not to do it. And then that would give me time to kind of really think how I want to tackle the end of the year for the show and line up. I know at least I got one guest I really want to get on here. He did say end of the year would be better for him, so I just got to schedule that out in advance. Recurring guest. He's only been on a couple of times, but phenomenal to have on, and something that I can't cover, but that he can greatly. Steve from Bass Fishing Electronics. So I'll get him on, which would be good. And then, I mean, after that, it's wide open with the exception of Christmas week. Like, that'll definitely be a no-go because Christmas is on Wednesday this year. So those will really be the only two skips that I can foresee for, like, ever at this point. I don't have any travel plans for work coming up anytime soon. I've removed myself from trade show travel at this point. And with the new role that I have at work as a project manager, things have been good, balanced. And now I'm just trying to find energy and get back into the flow of editing on a regular and get some more content out. But in the meantime, keep those questions coming. Sean, borrow a smaller boat and fish the river by me. Always a chance of 4+ Larry's on jigs. That is not a bad idea. You're not wrong there. At this point, I've kind of just like washed my hands of largemouth this season. I'm just going to dedicate my time to smallmouth, and I don't feel bad about that whatsoever. I'm looking forward to it. I tell you what, there's a part of me that's like, I almost don't want to line up any guide trips for the rest of the year, because I would love to sneak out up to the Lake Ontario at the end of the month, which would be phenomenal, but probably unlikely. So I'll just keep sneaking up to Lake Champlain at some point here. Let's talk about that really quick. Hubs. I promise you it is worthwhile to keep a spare hub for your trailer in your truck and the tools necessary to change out at all times, because that was not a fun endeavor to deal with on the side of the road. But nonetheless, getting that all repaired and replaced with the help of my buddy Tim went very smoothly. So if you ever run into the issue, it's really not a big deal to swap it out. It's a bit of a headache. Dual axles are worth their weight in gold, so I was at least able to limp home. But man, I tell you, having those extra tools and especially an extra hub just in case helps immensely. Okay, last but not least, before we start getting into questions, again, keep them flowing. I'm going to start starring them here. My buddy Chris in the background is going to start starring them, and I'll start going through and answering them up. If you guys are interested in any sort of, we're going to call it on the water training, not guiding. Guiding to me implies like I am just going to take you out in my boat and I'm just going to give you the boat and I'm going to sit down and watch you fish all day. That is not what I do. I ask you exactly what it is you want to learn, and I dedicate the whole day to it. I have various pricing depending upon what state and location we go to. The further away, a little bit more expensive, but my prices are right in line with every other guide in the area. And the difference is no tipping, period. And there is no time frame for how long we fish. I've had a couple of guys out in the past where the bite was so damn good, we're out there for 12 to 13 hours. Like, I don't care. As long as we're hammering them and you guys are having fun, I'll stay out dark to dark. I'll be out there till 11 midnight. I really don't care. If that's what you want to do, you're having fun and the price doesn't change. That's what it's going to be. And again, no tipping. Like, there's no guesswork. Like a lot of other guides, they price cheaper, but they specifically say, hey, we really need tips out of this. And that brings their pricing up to like what mine would be. If you're interested, and especially cold water season, going into the Thanksgiving weekend, day after Thanksgiving, I'm already booked. That Saturday and Sunday, I've got wide open. And then pretty much every Sunday from here on out, if you're interested, not this Sunday, any other Sunday, wide open as well. If you want to get out there and learn anything about cold water, anything I can teach you, I'd be happy to do it. I get up there, I fish with you, I walk you through it. I will tell you literally everything I know. I don't hold anything back. So if you're interested, reach out to me, send me an email, 603bass@gmail.com. We'll get it squared away. Okay, going back through the comments. Who else jumped in here? Phil, Kevin, Mark, obviously Jody, and Alec. DMH8, Chopman. Yeah, everybody's here. This is great. Okay, so I did see that one. Was that one? Okay, we already got two. Good. Thank you, Chris. Okay. There we go. Jobbing. What size open water sniper and rod do you use? All right. Open water sniper, I use them all. Quarter ounce, 3/8, and half ounce. Although I primarily fish the 3/8 ounce. Yeah, I would say like 2/3 of the time I'm fishing the 3/8 ounce, and the other maybe almost the rest of the time I fish the half ounce. Although this year I started throwing the quarter ounce a lot more with really, really good success, just having that slightly slower fall rate. And whether it's a swim bait or just a really small finesse profile crawl on the back, either one of those did really, really well for me. If I'm throwing 3/8 or half ounce, I'm going back and forth on this. And a lot of that depends on, man, like there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of overlap too for what those variables can kind of cover. I used to exclusively throw the 3/8 ounce and half ounce on a casting setup. So the Douglas 715F, which is 7.1 heavy fast rod, and straight Defiant heavy cover fluorocarbon 15.5 pound. And like I really like that. It was fun. It worked great, but and even deeper, like line weight doesn't really matter when they're eating jigs like that. Even smallmouth, like just cracked smallmouth all year long. It just did not matter. But I know that when I'm fishing that out deeper, I'm definitely missing bites. And then especially like on the fall, because the way I let, loose line out to make sure my jig falls straight down, I'm not always seeing when a smallmouth comes up and smokes it just below the surface. So I'm finding myself going back to a spinning setup a lot more often for that jig, just because that profile I've found tends to get bit on the fall a lot more often than like a traditional football jig. So Douglas X Matrix 724 XF. So it's a 7.2 medium heavy extra fast spinning rod. And I do Defiance 30-pound braid to the Defiant either 10, 12, or the 15.5 pound fluorocarbon for my leaders. It depends on what I'm fishing around. I typically just go straight with a 12 pound. Again, line weight in that case doesn't usually have any impact on how well they bite it. But then even when it's falling on dead slack line, like spool's open and it's going, I can always see when there's a bite with that braid. And especially when I'm fishing in deeper water, I can always see that bite and make that connection with them. Even on a 150 plus foot cast, dragging it down at 50 feet, if they just tick it, I can feel that. So I go back and forth on those. Pardon, I'm still fighting off the tail end of a cold, which has been a thorn in my side. When I'm throwing the quarter ounce, I can use that same Douglas X Matrix 724 XF, but it's a little stout for it. What I found I really liked was the Douglas X Matrix 763 XF. It's a little light for the application, but boy, I tell you, you can bomb that quarter ounce jig on that setup. And it's comfortable enough that like if I'm truly fishing my open water sniper in open water and I'm not anywhere near any vegetation, then it's fine. You don't really need a lot of backbone to try and fight those fish out and away from any sort of vegetation or cover, right? And I'll throw that sometimes. I've thrown it a couple days with 8-pound test on it, and I don't feel comfortable doing it, but it works. In general, I just throw the Defiant 9.8 pound heavy cover or the soft casting, either one of those for my fluoro leader, and that works great. And in that rod, oh boy, dude, I tell you, like I said, it bombs a quarter ounce jig. Even a drop shot with a 1 ounce weight, that rod will sling it. And it's amazing. I love it. So that everything open water setup, like that's everything I use. On my casting side for reels, either the Lose Hypermag or the Lose Elite TI, and then the Custom Light. Like I've used all three of those reels and they're great, 7.5 or higher. And then for my spinning reel, either Lose Hypermag or Lose Custom Light on their spinning reels, which I think both of those are 6.3 to 1. There's nothing really crazy. I wish I could find that a higher speed ratio spinning reel from Lose, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to find one. I'm going to do my best to limit that. I apologize. So there you go. There's everything on Open Water Sniper. Mark, how far up can you travel in the Walpole section safely in a bass boat? I've gone as far as a little past the Charlestown Road Bridge. That's as far as I've been, so I don't know, and I hope somebody else answered that for you in the chat. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't been that far. Nolan, thoughts on Long Island Bridge on Lake Winnie? All right, I'm going to tell you right now. I caught my PB largely on that bridge in 2020. 7 pounds, 5 ounces in middle of September. I was out scouting for the high school team that I was coaching because we had to launch out of Lee's Mills. And I didn't have the confidence in getting him on a good largemouth bite up there. So I want to go out and explore a few more smallmouth potential spots. And I went and did that for most of the day. And I felt confident what I found. So I was like, you know what? I'll give myself 2 hours. I'm right near the Long Island Bridge. I'll go over there. This is the biggest reason why I have no problem talking about it. That bridge is the community hole of all community holes in the entire state. Like that's my opinion, but dude, everybody fishes that bridge, and for good reason. It's usually stacked with fish. Size and quality varies greatly, but there's always fish on that bridge. But I went over there and I started on the east side of it, and I was fishing through, and I caught a couple of rats, and I went over to the west side of it. And at that time of the day, that time of the year, the sun was kind of lower on the horizon. It was casting this really, really cool, like, window of light that I could see through underneath the bridge. And you can see where, like, the hard shadow cut off from the bridge itself. But because the sun was at such a low angle on the horizon, like, from the shadow line, there was this, like, angled window where I could see everything all the way to the bottom. It was clear. It was dead calm. There's almost no boat traffic after Labor Day, so nothing was stirred up. And it was insane how much bait fish I could see. And I'm like, nothing going on the west side. So I got to go back. And I look over just in time, and I saw that 7 come up. Jesus, come up, smoke a bait fish, go back down. I was like, holy hell. Go back out to the east side. Went through every single one of my rods that I had trying to catch that fish. And then finally, like, the last rod I hadn't touched yet was just a Nico rigged Senko. I think it was my second cast that I caught her. 7 pounds, 5 ounces. It's a fun spot. Like, most of the time, there's nothing crazy on there. But every once in a while, you'll catch a stud. And that's not the only big fish I've caught at and around that. So there you go. It's rare that I'm willing to be that elaborate on any specific spots on specific bodies of water. But it's such a community hole, it's fine. Wrong one. Jody, what craft upgrades additions are you playing for the winter? Okay. So big reason why I'm trying to open up the boat for some guide trips, because I would like to start funding some of these. First and foremost, I want Raptors on my boat. I've never had a full set. I've had one town on my last Skeeter. I've always been dying to have the whole set, because I do a fair amount of shallow water fishing in a lot of different areas. There's plenty of times to take my kids out fishing, and just be nice to be able to put those down, and like, just the boat's not going to move from that position, period. And I take my kids out largemouth fishing in shallow water often, doing a lot of, fishing without a consistent, buddy with me now all the time. Like, it's nice that I could be able to anchor down, not have to worry about somebody else trying to manage the boat. I can manage boat and truck. So it's like, that's number one. After that, I'm probably going to go ahead and upgrade my Active Target 1 to Active Target 2, because my Active Target 1 is it's starting to act up a little bit. So I'd rather just replace it now before it's too late. And then after that, I've got some deciding to do. There's a part of me that wants to add a second forward-facing sonar scope to the trolling motor, given my tournament plans for this year, which I have now completely finalized. I know what I'm doing. But I don't know, because if I do that, I've got my 116 up front. I have to take that down and put 212s instead to be able to manage space up front. And that's not too bad. Then I can put that one singular 16 in the dash and take the 9 and trade that out towards one of the 212s. So, or I just leave everything as it is up front. I've got my one Helix 9 from my Mega 360. I got my HDS 16 from my Active Target. And I've got an HDS 9 live mounted in the dash. I would like to do a second 9-inch graph in the dash, just so I can make scouting a lot easier. I can just dedicate one entirely to side imaging and go that route. After all that's done, then I'll go lithiums. As much as I love the idea of lithiums, I do not have an issue with power whatsoever with the AGMs I'm running. I don't particularly care about the extra speed I can get out of it from going to lithiums, because I'm very happy with the speed I get out of my boat right now, and it rides awesome. I would probably go a hydraulic jack plate, then do lithiums dead last. I don't know. We'll see. I got too many options, man. I really do. I just have way too many options. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here for a second. Josh, I saw that and I just can't yet. I would love to, but I just can't. And then yeah, Jody, if you're gonna keep the 360, get a 12 or bigger. 360 is way nicer on bigger screens. I agree. I've been very happy with the 9-inch, but I do know that I could get a lot more out of it if I went to a slightly bigger screen. But then the other half of it's like if I want to put 2 forward-facing sonars on the bow, then like I don't want 3 12-inch screens up front. Like the 1.9 is nice and it kind of keeps the space management up there pretty good. And the 2.12s are still going to be busier than the 1.16, but it'll be a little bit better balanced. So I don't know, man. I'm going back and forth on this. I tell you what, and the whole reason I like not fishing with it. I also know that if I'm going to really go after tournaments, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Do I need 2? No. Does it help to have 2? Absolutely. Do I really want to do everything that I can and put myself in the best position possible to succeed in my tournaments? Absolutely. And that's why I'm debating doing it. Fished the STQT last year, qualified for the regional. I earned a paid spot to the regional, our designated regional for this year for bass, which is on the James River in Richmond. I'm not doing it. It's too much. The timing of it sucks because my job with the mandatory shutdown, back-to-back years, I'm getting screwed out of fishing plans. So I could, if I gave up something else, I could go do this. But everything else I wanted to do this year is more important to me than doing this event on a tidal river. Like I suck at river fishing. I've never fished tidal. I will have zero opportunity to go down there and scout for it ahead of time because I simply will not have the vacation time to handle it. So I'm just not going to do it. There's way too many things that are outside of my control that I don't feel I'm going to be able to have a solid shot at being able to do anything down there. So it's just like, you know what? Forget it. So instead, what I can do is I can still stick with my plan of going up to the St. Lawrence and Lake Ontario for the last week of the Canadian early season opener. That I'm definitely doing. I'm looking forward to it. I still have that tournament itch and I need to scratch it. So I'm going to do this year for 2025, what I've been trying to do the last too many years. I'm going to fish a whole trail. I'm going to fish the ABA Professional League. I can do that. I can literally make that work around everything on my schedule. I've got the time that I can afford to make that happen. I don't have to sacrifice anything work-wise or family-wise, most importantly. And money-wise, I can afford it without any issue. And the traveling is not a big deal. It's all like easy play. I mean, plus the place I really want to go. Obviously, Champlain at Ticonderoga, the first one. And then there's Oneida, which I've only been to once now, but it's not too far away. I could do a couple of day trips for that. St. Lawrence River at Clayton, like hell yeah, why wouldn't I want to do that? And then a final 2-day event on Cayuga, which I've never been to, but it's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So I can go there and give that a shot. And you know, like I can afford the time to go out and really give these things a shot. So I got options. It's where I'm at with all this. I don't know. Yeah, in Jody, like you're a big reason. Like you and another guy I know, Gordon Bokash, like you guys have spoken highly about the ABA, so it makes me feel good that like, yeah, this is a good decision that I can go in there and know it's just gonna be a good time. So that's what I want to do. Ben, yo, buddy, you watch any fights this weekend? And here's my question: top 3 techniques for this transition. Oh, buddy. Okay, yeah, I stayed up to watch that fight and I regretted it because what a sham. Top 3 techniques for right now. Oh God. Well, jig, drop shot, mid stroll, and minnow. That's probably what I'm going to go with. There's other things that will work, but if I want to go out there right now, and literally the only things I've been really catching, I take that back. Jig, drop shot, A-rig. A-rig's been killing it for me. And not everywhere, but I will say, even on the last couple of trips out where I did struggle, the number of fish I called out from literally nothing, could see nothing on forward-facing sonar and throw the A-rig, and it calls them out. It is like a different version of a glide, but you are much more likely to get bit on the A-rig than the glide, but both still call out a ton of fish. The glide will call out more fish than the A-rig, but the A-rig still calls out a lot more fish than you would expect. Josh, I have a spare HDS-12. I'll trade you for $12.50. I don't have any money right now. I'd love to. Drop it. Are trips in New England or just New Hampshire? No, not New Hampshire at all. The only thing I can do in New Hampshire, if anybody's interested, and I'd be happy to do this as well, is electronics lessons only. I cannot guide or receive payment for any fishing related activities. As long as there are no rods out and we are not actively trying to fish, then I can guide for electronic lessons only. I can provide electronics lessons only in New Hampshire, which that I could do. And actually, I've had a good number of people ask me that question where like they just want to learn what they're seeing. They're understanding what it is that they're seeing on their electronics. And I've done that and it works out great. And, you know, that can be done anywhere. I mean, if I was going to go do that, I'd probably pick a place like Winnie, to be honest, because I know I can go out there and in short order, I could show you literally anything you could ever want to look at structure wise in the span of like 2 hours. And like multiple different variations of that and multiple depths, with the exception of grass. Definitely still some deeper grass out there right now in a lot of places, the shallower grass. And I guess the volume of it isn't anywhere near the same as you would find it even like a month ago, but it's still pretty solid. And it's enough that I could definitively say like, yeah, this is exactly what you're looking at. Brian, Chatterbait has really been a big player this past October and November, it seems. You know, it's funny because I was going to say that, and I know a lot of people are getting bent on it, so it should at least get an honorable mention. But for me, for the life of me, dude, I cannot get that bite going. And I don't know what it is that I'm doing. I'm not going to say anything, but yes. Yeah, Josh, jerkbait as well. So same deal as a bladed jig. Only reason I'll bring it up is because, dude, I can't get that bite going. And it's infuriating because I have run into, for the last like 6 weeks, I've run into so many situations where I'm like, the jerkbait should be it. Like that should be the only thing I'm throwing, and that should be the only thing they're biting, and they just won't touch it. I watch them run away from the damn thing. And I'll bust out my whole box of Vision 110s and a couple other jerkbaits, and I'll go through everything. 110s, 110 plus 1, 110 plus 1 junior, 110 plus 2, like it doesn't matter. Dude, I could not get them to fire at any of those conditions. And it was infuriating. And I don't understand why. I know it's getting close. And I do know that a big part of it too is a lot of places I'm choosing to go to. Like I know you're fishing some of the smaller bodies of water down your way. They're cooling off a lot faster. Everywhere else I've been has still been like stuck at 55. And I feel like it's still just too warm for them to do their thing for that. Dude, it's weird. Like I can't explain it. You just would have to see the things that I've been seeing where I've been fishing to really understand it. It is wild. And it's especially infuriating because I love a jerkbait bite and I would love for that to start going off, but it's not happening, man. Alec, what if I tell the state to F off and pay anyway? You know, it's all right. I'm going to get on my soapbox for 1 second. I could be just a literal nobody who's never operated a boat or even stepped foot in a boat ever. I could go buy a boat today and tomorrow go get hired by a high school and get paid thousands of dollars by them to take out underage children in a sanctioned tournament in the state of New Hampshire. That's allowed. That's legal. But I, a lifelong bass angler and a multiple decade long boat operator with all my licenses, cannot take somebody out in my, I could take those high school kids out on Lake Winnipesaukee, the most dangerous lake in the state, and get paid for that. But I, an adult, cannot take out another consenting adult in my bass boat in a 30-acre, 4-foot deep puddle and get paid. Make that fucking make sense. You can't. Because our state is just dumb when it comes to this shit. And I am so over trying to rationalize how they make sense of that I refuse to work with them on this ever. I had ambition to go for it, and I definitely failed. And I was getting ready to sign up, and I really got thinking about it. And I said, do I really want to continue to support the state and how they operate for this? Not to mention the manner in which that they are operating the examinations, where if you fail, they will not tell you how you failed, because that would be telling you exactly what you got wrong. And they at the beginning of every test, they say, you need to understand, we're not here to trick you. We just want to know that you know the material. Sorry, you failed. Well, what did I get wrong? Well, we can't tell you that because we give you the answer. Okay, you just spent the first 10 minutes before the test telling me you just want to make sure we know the material to get people out safely. But when I failed, you won't tell me, because then you'd be telling me the answer and I would know that information. So which is it? Because you were completely contradicting yourselves. It is the dumbest shit. It literally doesn't make any sense. And then they went and changed the test because too many people were passing it. Make it make sense. You can't. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox now. What did I miss? Jody, wait, you can make thousands as a boat driver in high school? I'm in the wrong business. Yeah, some schools pay a significant amount of money. A lot of schools pay very little money, but at least it's enough. Like, if you're only taking the kids out a couple of times and then you get them out there and, you get them out for the tournament and stuff, like it'll cover your gas money. And then there's quite a few schools that only go, they're like volunteer basis. It really depends. I guess it's like any other state, right? You got your rich towns and your not so rich towns. Let me grab that. Alec, I give consent for you to take my money. Oops. Talk about, I don't see bourbon on his desk. Someone get him one. Yeah, I gotta get that. Tell the ones that pay big to call me. Get in line. All those schools don't ever have a problem whatsoever getting people to work for them. All right, let me go with that one. I'm just trying to go through and pin some other comments here so I can go back through. Keep the questions coming. I'm loving them. This is great. Kyle, why is my partner able to detect his better on the spinning rod versus my casting rod? Line watching, you can see his line twitch, and you can't, you just can't see it with the casting setup. There was a follow-up point to that. The question is in regards to fishing a Ned rig. It's his hits better in spinning versus my casting rod. Line watching, you see his line twitch. So my question is, does your partner have braid versus like straight fluorocarbon on your deal? And so that's giving me my first question. Like, what kind of line are you fishing in the difference between the two? Then second question would be, are you both fishing the exact same Ned head? Is one of you fishing tungsten or versus the other one that's fishing like a lead head or a tin bismuth one, a non-lead? What rods are you guys fishing as well? That would be my third follow-up question. Like I can tell you, I can feel things on my Douglas X Matrix rod that you're not gonna be able to feel on a rod you bought from Walmart for $20. There is a great deal in difference in overall quality and thereby sensitivity that you're gonna get in a rod based on what you pay for it. So, there's a lot of things. So you're both using braid. So then the other aspect of it is when you've got your line out there, are you maintaining slight tension? Like you should have a swoop in your line when it's the same as fishing a drop shot. Any bottom contact bait, if you have slack in your line, unless they thump it, you're never going to feel that bite. So for me, especially when fishing really light stuff, and especially for smallmouth, most of the time, not most of the time, a lot of the time, you can't even feel them bite when you have semi-slack line. You'll be holding it there and you've got a nice swoop in your line, and all of a sudden it just goes limp and you never feel a damn thing. And okay, yep, smallmouth, he just gently scooped it up and he's running at me because that's why I got slack in my line. So that's another big thing. So same Ned head, same rod, his casting, mine is spinning, his FX Extreme, and mine's a Doomsday. I would say that FX Extreme is better than the Doomsday from what I remember about those rods. But that's the only thing. It's got to be the way that you're maintaining or lack of maintaining intention on your line. Like I have watched that happen more times than I can remember, where I am fishing with somebody relatively new, and I'm trying to school this into them. Especially as we're going through these finesse training sessions, we'll put it. And that's the biggest thing that I always make a point of is like, dude, you got to keep some tension on the line or you're never going to feel these bites. And I'll be up on these people, 5-1 for that ratio for the day. And it's like, I can watch, I'm literally watching. You just got to keep tension on it. Like that's another big thing. That's the only thing I can offer given everything else. Josh, I see the fish eat the bait and forward facing the same way, regardless of if spinning rod or casting rod. I want your hoodie, by the way. Scoping is not a crime. Oh, all right. I'm going to go a little out of order. How's the Bass Fishing Electronics event last Saturday night? That was friggin' awesome. If you guys didn't get a chance to go and you were thinking about it, then I strongly encourage you to go next year. I had a blast. It was awesome hanging out with just a bunch of different fishing people. Like we're all there just shooting shit, eating some good food, having a few cold ones, and just hanging out. And then they ended up giving away a bunch of stuff to end the night too. So it was just awesome to be there to support Steve, and especially in the way that he supported me and just been a good dude. Like I'm just happy to help him out in any way that I can. Because like I said, from the very beginning, before he even really had a business, he was on the phone with me for 2 hours. And I didn't even know what the hell I was going to buy or even if I was going to buy anything from him. He still gave me 2 hours of his time to walk me through everything bass fishing electronics related. So like, and he's just been that kind of person literally every time I've gone there since then. He's been consistent. That's just the person he is. So I'm always going to support whatever he does because he's a good dude. And it was just a wicked fun event. Like I loved it, and I look forward to going into it again. I ended up actually winning something. Both my wife and I did. I won a light for Raptors, which was pretty sweet. So more incentive to get Raptors, and it was hilarious too because they were a bunch of the guys that were there that knew me. They were they were poking fun of my wife pretty hard. Like Tim Doobie was like emceeing the whole raffle giveaway aspect of everything, and he's like, Chrissy, if you buy these tonight, we will take. He looks at Steve. He's like, what do you think? 10%, 15, 20%, 20%, 20. We'll take 20% off those towns for the Raptors. It was just fun. Like that was the kind of night it was. And that's how everybody was just kind of hanging out with everyone. Awesome. Absolutely awesome experience. I look forward to doing it again. Wrong one. That one. Are you coming to Connecticut for stripers this winter? Yes. I don't know when, but yes. I know it's getting close. I want to get a little bit colder for those numbers to get there. I'm not too particularly concerned with catching a giant. I just want to go down there and hammer on numbers. Mainstream fishing. You still catch them when you go out. I'm in New Jersey, and I was thinking about putting up the kayak. Yeah, but not like I feel like I should be. I mean, I ended up this past Sunday, went deep into Vermont, 7:30 to 1:30, skunked. Left, went to Connecticut River, caught 9 or 10. I forget exactly how many in like 30 minutes. Weekend before, I was trying to go into Vermont. That's when I ran into the trailer issues right next to the Connecticut River. So I went there and I ended up catching, I think I said 27. I think it was 27 in like 4.5 hours. And there was a pretty big lull in the middle until I figured out what the hell was going wrong with how they had changed how they were biting. And I had to make an adjustment to my Alabama rig to get the most out of it. Because I was producing the bigger bite. Like I tried going more finesse on them and it was producing rats. So I just stopped that. I'm like, I'm just going to live and die by the A-rig. And then the weekend before that, I went to the river with the intention of just throwing the A-rig, and we caught 50 fish in the 8 hours we were out there. So in the one place, it's been great. Everywhere else, dude, I tell you, very, very inconsistent. Not just for me, for other people I know too. It has not been easy. The Bass and Panda, dude, you are a saint, by the way. Did you get any of those cool JDM baits you got? I did. I threw the K9, and I have a lot of modifications to do that. I talked to one of my buddies, John, down in Mass, and he gave me a breakdown of everything that he does to modify his to get the most out of it, especially coming up in the cold water. And that's really what it is I'm looking for out of this thing. But I did throw a little bit, was very excited. I threw a couple of those other jerk baits. I brought that +3, the 110 +3 with me. Didn't throw it because the conditions, just the fish I was seeing, like there was everything that I saw for activity was in like 33 feet. And they were on the bottom, and they were just hovering on the bottom. Almost nothing was up off the bottom. The only time we saw something off the bottom, we thought we had some giant largemouth chasing us. giant brook trout or brown trout. Sorry, giant brown trout, because they ended up following my buddy Citizen 6 all the way back to the boat. We both looked over like, those are like 8-pound browns, dude. Those were not small brown trout. Couple of thick boys. So I got to use some of them. I am going to use more of them. Just don't know when. Getting there though. +3. Oh, +3. What's that? Dive to China, dude. I'm excited to try that one. It is going to be good. It's going to be really, really good on that one. Footy fan recommendations to ease into swim bait fishing. Oh boy. I tell you, I like a big soft body swim bait because you can fish it one of two ways and keep it really simple. Either just straight up retrieve the thing like you would crankbait, or I guess to be more accurate, a swim jig with a swim bait on the back. So CHR swim baits, they're Chuleta Junior. That's a really good option for getting into like the proper big size of swim baits. And it's definitely got a different action than something, say, like the Citizen 6 from Working Class Zero, and they're much easier to obtain and a much friendlier cost. The Creep from Beast Coast Fishing also qualifies in that realm. It's a 6.5-inch soft body swim bait. Again, just straight swim it or let it get on the bottom and drag it like a jig. I know guys that they only catch them, like big soft body swim baits like that, they only catch fish on them, just straight swim them. And there's guys that only catch them, working them like a jig, just dragging them on the bottom, pulling them through rock piles, things like that. I have caught them both ways, but the majority of my big soft body swim bait fish have come from fishing it like a jig. I would say that's probably the easiest thing that you can get into, because for something like that, you don't need a crazy setup for it either. You could throw that on your frog rod. Citizen 6 is going to be a little bit on the heavy side, but it's really not that bad. Like, it's only 6 inches, but there's a lot of meat to that bait, so it gets a little heavier. The Miyagi is kind of towing the line for what I would consider like, proper swim bait fishing, depending upon who you ask in the community. It's 4 3/4, 4.75 inches, so it's a little small for it to be considered that, but I mean, really, it's the same damn thing. That's like another like really, 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 really good one to get into it. But if you're talking the big boy stuff, you might need to get another rod for that. Just might. I'm looking. Wait on what? Oh, 7.8. Kitech 7.8. Yeah. I've caught some good fish on that. Looking. What else did I miss? What other questions you got? Ooh, Kyle. Any experience with the True Arrow Bass Fishing Electronics makes for the Ghost trolling motor? I'm thinking of getting it. I don't personally have it, but I have seen it in action on two people's boats. Get it. Don't question it. If it's something that you can utilize and it's going to help you, dude, get it. That thing is amazing. Like, talk about dead accurate freaking just action on that. No lag whatsoever, follows it to a T. And I will tell you, right now I have one forward facing sonar transducer and it's on a separate turret mount. I'm still going to get that arrow because when I was up there for the BFL in Champlain this year, my freaking turret died. All the gears in the freaking gearbox blew up. So that was the day before the tournament. I had zero hope of getting that repaired and working. So I had to move my turret to my trolling motor and I don't have that upgrade on my Ghost. So trying to use that arrow just doesn't happen. So I'm literally out there the rest of the day, standing on the bow looking over to see like where's the nose of like the actual nose cone of my transducer, so I know which way this thing is pointing. And that was not going to work out. So I left and I went to a hardware store and I got a hose clamp and an orange snowplow stake that you put in your yard to mark off like the edge of your driveway. Cut about that long of a chunk, roughly about a 2-foot long chunk of it. Hose clamped it to the troll motor on the nose of it, so that way I could just kind of peek over the very front of my boat and I could see where that stupid thing was pointing. That's how I was able to at least get by with it. Ended up not needing it because it was so damn windy in the tournament. I couldn't do a damn thing anyway, but it at least kind of like I had the option. I had something to work with. If I had the True Arrow, wouldn't have to have dealt with that. So I tell you, it is awesome. Cannot recommend it enough. Definitely get it. Looking. Oh, I did just see one from Josh that I had missed. Aside from this one, Steve is a solid guy. See, I'm not the only one that says it. No, not that one. Josh, where the hell did you put the other one? Oh, it's way further up. That one. They stopped eating finesse baits on the bottom for me 2 weeks ago, and they will smoke the jerkbait for me now. Got 2 6s and 5 last weekend, and water temps 45 to 49. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Like, I haven't been anywhere yet where the water's even close to that. The coldest water I fished in, and so far this season, has been 52. I can't, everywhere I go, it's all this deeper water. Like, I'm fishing by the calendar, but not really the weather conditions that have led up to this point. There's a handful of smaller bodies of water around me that if I had fished for the last couple of weeks, I probably would have had much better luck on than I did all year, because the water temps are about right. Or they should be. They should be right in line with what you're talking about. I need to just figure it out. I'll get there eventually. Good question. Dogbone. Oh, he's talking about weights for the Kitech still. I like this. Bait Sanity glides are good to go and affordable. Yes. Bait Sanity makes some amazing glides, and I highly recommend those. That Explorer glide, the Gen 2, yeah, the Explorer. Really, really, really good glide bait for that price. It's a little heavy and it sinks fast. Like, dude, it's big. It's a 9.5-inch glide. But if you really want to get into like the big glide bait game and you want to do it for less than $100, that is a phenomenal glide for that price. So that's another one I'd really go with. Again, the only downside though is it sinks pretty damn fast. Out of all my big glides, by far the fastest sink out of anything I've owned is on that Bait Sanity. So if you want to work it shallow, it's not good. But if you want to get it out a little bit, at least over open water, at least 5 feet deep, it's great. But if you try and get over some shallow grass, good luck. It's a bit of a nightmare. What else you guys got? Oh, it's already 8:47. I'm not going to take this too much longer. I didn't want to stay up super late for this one. But I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss anything else. Masson and Bat. I'm not gonna. I already got off my soapbox. I'm not gonna go back to that topic. That's for damn sure. I can't. No, I'm not gonna. Actually, I'm going way back for this one. Mark, Northeast Bass Fishing. Small lake I was on today was dead. Didn't even see a perch or sunny anywhere. I tell you what, I've been running into that a lot. And the only time I can actually end up eventually seeing them is when I'm just dragging. Like, I have been rotating between the A-rig and mid-stroll and a minnow, just seeing if I can call something up, because I'll go for like 2 hours of not seeing a damn thing. And I'll be dragging a jig that whole time. I'm going around looking to see if I can even locate anything. I'm not getting bit on that. So it's like, okay, well, what's the deal? Let me see if I can even call something up out of the mud. And one of those two things will usually do it. The A-rig will usually call up the bass. The minnow will call up the bait fish. And, you know, Mark, you know where I was. Based on this, you know where I was last Sunday. I couldn't see anything. But as soon as I started throwing that little twitch minnow, like all of a sudden, whole bunch of yellow perch came up, and I ended up catching 2 of them. They were tanks. But yeah, dude, like even I'm having trouble seeing that. But it's these bigger bodies of water where the water temp just is still way warmer. Like, I went and looked, and the place I was at a year ago. And a year ago, yeah, this time of the year, it was a high of 50 degrees versus when I was just there 2 days ago, it was 54 to start the day. Like, it's bad. It's just, we're way off right now. Okay. I tell you what, it's 8:50. This was fun. However, questions have kind of slowed down a little bit, so I'm going to go from here. I will say next week, stay tuned to social media. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. What I might do is just kind of post about it and just get a head count for the regulars, if they're going to be there or not. Talk to the family, figure out really our schedule for what we're looking at for Thanksgiving dinner and everything. And I mean, that more than anything is probably going to dictate how I handle next week. But then after that, we're ready to rock. I've definitely already got topics lined up, so we're good to go. Got at least one more guest coming on. I'm going to try and line up a second if we can. I'd like to get Dennis back in here pretty soon too, which probably won't be until January. so that we can do one topic we've been holding off on is doing our best baits from 2024, which on the surface might seem extremely limited, but it's not. I actually had a pretty good variety, at least for myself. And I know Dennis definitely did. So I'm looking forward to doing that as well. And aside from that, I've got a regular video that I've been talking about getting done for the last 3 weeks. That is 3/4 done. I'm going to do my best to get that done and up for Friday. All right. I'm trying. I'm just, I'm struggling, but I'm trying. Other than that, Kyle, I see your question. I fished it once, hated it. Did it for a tournament. I was skunked. By 2, I said, I'm out. I would not recommend it at the time of the year that I went, which is late in the year, right after cold front, but I do know there's bigger fish in there. But anyway, everybody, thank you for watching tonight. Greatly appreciate it as always. May or may not see you next Wednesday, but definitely after Thanksgiving, 100% yes. In the meantime, again, Instagram, Facebook, just I'll post about it. We'll get next week squared away. Other than that, thank you for watching. See you guys next week.